Jag from Jaggy Sports. Let's talk trades. Let's talk trades. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification button. So let's talk trades here for a second. Norman Powell and Robert Covington got traded from the Trailblazers. Everybody was thinking like, oh, holy crap, the Clippers got so much and blah blah blah. But and they did. Norman Powell scored 28 points in his debut. Unbelievable. And Clippers got better, 100%. Clippers look dangerous. I keep telling you guys this. It's not over the media. I don't know why they're not presenting this, but you just have to hate them or love them. You have to admit that Clippers did get better. I don't know. I originally thought that they were wanting a point guard, but after hearing Frank Lawrence talk, I don't think they might. I think they were going to roll with whatever they got, because after hearing him talk, he's just basically like define a point guard, we need a passer or shooter kind of thing like that. He defines it like that. He doesn't define it by the actual position. So I think they might be done, but you never know. Frank Lawrence and Jerry West continue to surprise me with all their great moves. So they could be done. Let's talk about Trailblazers. They're looking at CJ McCollum, and top suitors I'm hearing are the New York Knicks. And so we'll see what happens on that note. I don't think the Knicks would pull it off, but you never know. Check this clip out from Woj.
The team to beat. All right, let's check out who was in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone, because Jaylen Brown, he threw down this vicious dunk on Mo Bamba.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. All right, he led the Celtics with 26 points as they won their 5th straight game, and the Celtics, they've been hot since the start of 2022. Celtics, they're getting it done on the defensive end. Since January 1st, Boston leads the NBA in defensive efficiency and is holding opponents to 42% from the field. That is also the best in the league. But this is the time of year when literally every single team is trying to get better. That's because it is trade deadline week, and we're officially 3 days away from the trade deadline. So I want to bring back in senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski to check on some key hotspots here. And Woj, I want to start with 2 players who've garnered some trade attention. Where do talks stand around Pistons Jeremy Grant and Blazers CJ McCollum?
And Malika, let's start with Jeremy Grant in Detroit. And remember, he's got another year on his contract. This is a Detroit team that is perfectly willing to wait at the draft into the offseason with Jeremy Grant. If the trade deadline were in an hour, I'm told they don't really have anything right now that they'd be ready to move on. But you know how this goes. Often teams will withhold, their best offers. Teams will start to lower their asking price as we get closer on Thursday. But CJ McCollum in Portland, I think a couple teams have been fairly aggressive in their pursuit. New Orleans, the New York Knicks. And listen, McCollum has a lot of value around this league. You know what you're getting with him. This is a player who adds a lot of maturity to any locker room he's in. Certainly a dynamic offensive player. And so I think for Portland, you saw them get off, significant salary with the Norman Powell trade and moving Robert Covington out. And so I think right now they can wait and see what is the package that they would want to get back for McCollum. But they're very much engaged in talks. I think by the end of the trade deadline, it's going to be a very different looking Portland Trailblazers roster.
Well, CJ McCollum certainly adds a lot to any team he ends up on. But Woj, what's a pivotal deadline team right now?
I think the Indiana Pacers. And listen, Miles Turner was a player that I think we thought there was a very good chance he'd move at the deadline, but that
injury.
Trying to remember the injury. Yeah, the foot injury that he has. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name. I'm losing track of all my injuries. But that slowed down trade talks with him. It's still possible he could move. But Domas Sabonis is another player Washington would love to get at Sabonis. They may not have the assets to do that deal right now. I think what Indiana's trying to figure out is, are they going into a full rebuild? They potentially, now they're going to have 2 first-round picks in this coming draft, their own, which would be a high lottery pick, Cleveland's, that they picked up. And, they're going to move Chris Duarte in. He'll play a bigger role as they move Karis LeVert out. But they could use all these assets to go out, maybe get a more prominent player. They could also, continue to kind of dismantle this roster, get assets, young players, draft picks. And the Ricky Rubio expiring contract that they got in the Karis LeVert trade, about $18 million, that's showing itself to have value around the league. I'm told, plenty of teams who, if they can get the expiring contract of Rubio, perhaps the expiring contract of a Joe Ingles, both of whom are out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Those are teams who are trying to gather up cap space for the summer for free agency. That's where the value of those contracts are. And so the Pacers are probably going to be able to flip that Rubio contract and get back some more assets as they kind of reshape this roster, as they start out this Rick Carlisle era in Indiana.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping a close eye on the Pacers. And for
Stress
Miles
reaction.
Turner, it's a stress reaction in his left foot. Absolutely.
Miles Turner, yeah.
Absolutely, Woj. Thank you so much. We know you are busy this week. You're going to be back with us a whole lot. Thank you so much for joining us on NBA Today. The Cavs, they acquired Karis LeVert yesterday for Ricky Rubio's expiring contract and some picks. You can see the full trade here on the screen. But to give us some more details on that trade, Woj is back with us. So, Woj, what does this trade from the Cavs signal to the league?
Well, Malika, in the short and long term, this is a tremendous pickup for Cleveland. And, Karis LeVert's 27 years old. He fits into the timeline with this young Cavs team with most of their best players not even near their prime yet. And this is a team that's knocking on the door of first place in the Eastern Conference. But LeVert gives them a dimension, certainly offensively, his ability to get to the rim, get downhill. That for the Cavs has been a part of their offensive arsenal that they haven't had. I think they're very bottom of the league at drives to the basket and scoring. And LeVert's from the state of Ohio. He is thrilled to be there. He's got a year left on his contract. And I think you could expect Cleveland this offseason to look at trying, to get ahead of it with him working on an extension. And I think not just in the years to come, this is a formidable Cavaliers team right now in this season, and LeVert for them ahead of the trade deadline for that Ricky Rubio expiring deal. We all had real concerns when Rubio went down, how it would impact this team. He was so important to them, and you've seen this team carry on and continue to play at a really high level, certainly at the very top in the league defensively.
Not to mention reuniting Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen. Woj, thank you so much. You'll be back later in the show. But
so, C.J. McCollum, he's a wanted man in the NBA, 100%. Cavs did a great deal with Karis LeVert. They got really good, and of course they had to mortgage a couple picks and expiring contract to meet the contracts. But Cavs got better. But who's in the driver's seat is the Indiana Pacers. I totally agree, because Indiana Pacers are willing to give up a lot of their future because, not of their future, but their current assets like Sabonis, Miles Turner. I don't know if Miles Turner would get traded because he's got that stress fracture in his foot. Sabonis, I'm hearing Washington, but I'm also hearing Sacramento. It's pretty surprising what's taking place in the trade world. One person that is not going to get traded is Russell Westbrook. Even though the Lakers are continuously going behind the scenes to try and trade him, nobody's going to want a $44 million contract, and I think it's a $47 or $49 million next year. Nobody's going to want that for a guy that can't shoot. You know what I mean? He's like Ben Simmons. He can only drive to the basket, make assists, but the guy can't shoot. So, Lakers made a dumb, stupid move in the off season last season, and they're paying for it for the next 2 years. Unless they buy the guy out, but I doubt it. Lakers are are fairly cheap when it comes to that, so I doubt that they will buy him out, but you never know. So this is Jag Mangat, Jaggy Sports. Hit subscribe, hit like, hit notification. Tell your baker, tell your bookie, tell your teacher, whatever you got to do. Tell them to subscribe to Jaggy Sports.